get introductions? Yeah, my name is Becky, and I think the first thing that people tend to notice about me is probably my hair, because I think you'll agree it's quite extensive in length. And people always ask me, Becky, how long does it take you to get your hair this long? Well, what they don't realise is I don't actually grow my hair, I just consolidated all my bodily hair into one location. Before that I wore a bob, and not a lot of skirts. Yeah, so I've been trying to figure out lately why I'm single. And I think I pinpointed it down to the fact that I've lost the ability to flirt entirely, because the only thing I ever knew about flirting was that if you saw somebody doing something and you liked them, then you just comment on what they were doing and start the conversation. Which is fine if you see somebody like with a football, you can say like, oh, you know, footballer, you know, quite like a kickabout, and that might get you somewhere. You can't overextend this as I did to a good-looking person sat in the library reading a book on dermatology and go, dermatology, eh? You know, I have psoriasis. Doesn't work the same. And before I even get to the flirting stage, I'm slightly limited because of the size of these monstrous lips that I've got, because these lips like to wear lipstick, and if I kiss somebody who's got thin lips, then sort of like the aftermath looks like a child who's coloured outside the lines with a Crayola. And so yeah, it's meant that I've been single for quite a while, and I didn't really realise how bitter I was about being single until recently when I was in a supermarket and I saw a pregnant lady sizing up clothes on the baby bump and going, oh, I can't believe he's going to be that small, isn't it so cute? And I just leant over to this complete stranger and said, well, you don't want him much bigger, do you? Because he's coming out your vagina. And then I thought, you know, sort of like, oh God, you know, I really am quite bitter about this whole being alone thing. I wonder who I get this bitterness from. And then the same day I came out to a car park with my dad and we saw like quite a nice car, and I said, oh Dad, look at that car, isn't that a really nice car? And my dad doesn't take the attitude of, this man has obviously worked very hard all his life and saved up a lot of money to afford this car. He took the attitude of, well, he's still parked in the disabled bay. And then I thought, okay, well, if it's not my dad that I've got it from, maybe it's the place that I'm from, because we're from the same place. And I'm from a town called Telford, which, when people sort of say, like, you know, Becky, what's Telford like? I should say things like, oh, it's where Muller yogurts are made, and it's the home of the famous industrialist Thomas Telford. But actually, when I think of Telford, I just think of the one time when I saw a sign saying homemade fertiliser outside somebody's house. And in any other place, that could mean something like, I take very good care of my animals, and I use a combination of their waste with environmentally compost, and I use the entrepreneurial skill to combine the two of these together and market it as a product. In Telford, a sign saying homemade fertiliser for sale just means I shit in my garden. And if you give me a fiver, I'll shit in yours as well. And then I thought, I think probably the best thing that ever came out of Telford has definitely got to be my mum, because we've got a strange relationship. Because I've never liked smoking, and she's a woman who loves to smoke, to the point where, like, when she physically can't smoke anymore, she'll light them as incense sticks around the room just to keep the aroma going. And then my opinion of smoking never changed when I grew older either, because I got a job, and then in my job, like, you're allowed smoking breaks. I don't know if any of you guys have smoking breaks at work at all, but it's essentially a paid break to indulge in a bad habit. And smoking is the only bad habit you can be paid for, because alcoholics don't get a sneaky little tequila dash. And a bulimic is not allowed a crafty little purge every now and then. It's a very biased system. And then, you know, so me and my mum grew up with a sort of strange relationship, which I always put down to smoking. And then we got to this one point where, like, the relationship just changed permanently, because she thought that I'd been going off like slagging it round at all these parties when I hadn't, but you know, she'd never really like said anything, just bottled it up. But then one day I did her crossword in the Daily Mail, and in my middle class family that's pretty much treason. And so she blurted out with, you know, talking about that, and dragged up all the stuff from the last week, and we're having these two arguments in parallel about, oh, you're such a slut, and you did my crosswords in the Daily Mail, oh. And then, like, I realised that it's probably better to keep them separate in parallel, because if we'd have mixed them together, then it would have been something along the lines of, oh, you've been out dogging, have you? And you did my Sudoku? Well, did you finish it? Which isn't true, because if I could have had sex for as long as it takes me to do a Sudoku puzzle, I would look like I had rickets. So we were having this argument, and then I suddenly blurted out, I hate you, and you immediately feel so bad and you want to take it back. But I didn't even have the time to feel guilty, because she came back with like the worst slip of the tongue I've ever heard in my life, which was, I brought you into this world, and I can take you out of it. The same way. So that changed the relationship pretty much forever. But I've never really resented my mum at all, apart from she never really raised me to deal with confrontation, which I really could have used once, because when I was back in Telford, it's a little bit rapey. I was walking down the road and there's these two guys that I don't really know what you call like these sort of like shabby, horrible guys, because like, it's like a collective noun, because like you get like a gaggle of geese and a murder of crows, and I quite like to think it's sort of like a cunt of chavs, because they're really, really horrible. And I was walking past them and they thought it was a perfectly acceptable thing to do to just grab my ass, and my brain was furious, and I thought, oh, I need to say something, but I don't know how to deal with confrontation. And then I thought, a swear word, I need a swear word. And then that was as far as the thought process went. So essentially how it played out was that I was walking down and these guys grabbed my ass and I just went, fuck! Not fuck off, not fuck you, not what the fuck are you doing? Because that's a fairly ambitious amount of words at this point. I was just like, fuck! And then I realised, Becky, not only did you not shame their actions, you just upped the stakes. So I guess the only bit of a take-home value that I've got here is for aspiring or present parents, which is just that, guys, if you're going to have kids and they're going to fuck, teach them to use a preposition. I've been Becky Price, thank you.